G'day folks, welcome to an ACC Queensland weather app today, the 7th of the 12th, 2022. My name's Chris Nitzo. This update brought to you by our major sponsor, TownsvilleSheds.com. Check them out if you're in the market for a shed-safe accredited shed. They can deliver one right across Queensland. You can see most of the state pretty dry there through the mid-level atmosphere especially. Look at this in the water vapour imagery, extremely dry. As we get further southwards though, there is a little bit of mid-level moisture and that'll be combined with a little bit of surface level moisture, particularly tomorrow where we're going to see some big storms, but we'll talk about that in the morning. In the meantime, for today, we can see some isolated showers and thunderstorms developing across the southern interior and possibly the central interior as well. Very isolated convective activity around the Gulf Country coastline, just inland of the coastline, and around that northwestern part of Cape York Peninsula, a very isolated shower. Any of the more substantial convections probably going to happen down here in the south. As we progress into this evening and tonight, you'll notice that that's pushing into the Darling Downs and then eventually through the southeast corner of the state overnight tonight, early tomorrow. So don't be surprised if you get an isolated shower or thunderstorm across the southeastern region. As I mentioned, we're expecting to see a pretty big thunderstorm day tomorrow, but as I say, we'll talk about that in the morning. Otherwise, you can join our subscriber service where we've already talked about this very much in depth, and there's going to be some big ones. Rainfall between now and tomorrow morning, you'll notice that there is a little bit of rain coming out of this convective activity down in the south, particularly the stuff that happens later in the evening and overnight tonight. There's possibly a little bit more moisture associated with it. Isolated showers, as I mentioned, around the Gulf coastline and just inland of the Gulf coastline, and notice there's a bit of mid-level based convection across northwest Queensland. Not too much in that, but maybe an isolated convective shower around that part of the world. Also, as I mentioned, up here around Weipa. Just the chance there of a very isolated shower on that cape. Just looking at the southern Queensland area, a bit more detail, you can see on our forecast radar, maybe an isolated convective shower, some better showers and thunderstorms developing later, and then you can see them pushing directly at the coastline overnight tonight. Really hot conditions across the western parts of the state, into most of inland Queensland, into parts of southeastern Queensland as well, and central eastern Queensland as well. So you can see temperatures getting up to that 35 to 40 range over large areas of the state. And the Bureau of Meteorology have issued a heatwave warning, and particularly intense heatwave for northern parts of Queensland, particularly inland of the coastline and extending down towards the inland of Mackay region. Notice the further south we go, the less the chance of a strong heatwave developing over the next few days. Over the next couple of hours, the winds will start to moderate across southeast Queensland, and then the winds will kick right back in once the northerlies push through back on the afternoon or in the afternoon. You'll notice there's some strong and gusty southerlies and southwesterlies across western Queensland, and some developing strong northerlies and northeasterlies across eastern Queensland, particularly in southern and central eastern Queensland. Notice also increase of southeasterly winds up there around the eastern Cape York Peninsula. Through the overnight period, strong northerlies will dominate across the coastal fringe, so please be aware of that if you are offshore. And then we're going to see a southerly change pushing through the southeast corner as we progress through tomorrow. And that will form the boundary of where we expect to see some big thunderstorms. If you'd like more details on anything we've mentioned today and look at tomorrow, join.ozcyclonechasers.com.au. Thank you for your support. If you do decide to subscribe, we offer you all the in-depth information you could ever need from a weather perspective, especially in times of severe weather and tropical cyclone activity, of course. Have a wonderful day. We'll have a chat about storms tomorrow.